When I was just over 10 years old, there was an event happening in my small hometown in the Netherlands. A video rental store opened up in our local mall. Yeah, that was the first in the Netherlands at that time. And in the weeks leading up to the grand opening, all the kids tried to take a peek into the store and see what they had there. And very close to the door, there was that one box that promised Superman the movie. And everybody wanted to rent that movie first. So, once the store was open and my father 2 weeks later asked, which movie should I rent? I told him, rent Superman. Granted, he came home with Superman 2, but I was really happy because I finally got to see Superman. To this day, Superman 2 is one of my favorite films of all times. So imagine my joy when 40 years later, I heard that same theme again. Welcome to Trailer Talk, and I'm your host, Grandmaster. With me is a powerful panel made up of the finest champions the car has to offer. Let me introduce them to you. Only two this time. Mr. Lord Deathman, voice only. How are you?
I am doing great. Feeling hopeful today.
I wonder why. And beautiful Merv is also with us.
How are you?
I'm great. Uh, Even though the DCU is in full swing already with the release of Creature Commandos, and don't worry, we will review that after the first season is completed in January 2025. Everyone was still eagerly anticipating the first trailer for Superman, the first feature film of this rebooted universe. Well, today it dropped.
Crypto. Home. Daily home.
Superman.
So let's talk about it. Lord Deathman, a resident Marvel fan, so it's only fair to start with you. Uh, how much were you anticipating this trailer, and did it disappoint you?
This trailer was highly anticipated for me. I think for a lot of the fans, whether DC is the visiting team or the home team for you in terms of your fandom, everybody is kind of thinking of this film as the opening salvo to the new DCU, and it was highly anticipated for me, despite the fact that I was trying to play it cool. I was waiting for this, and I have to say, it didn't disappoint. As you, just to quote you from the board earlier today, I think overall the trailer looks great. I love the Silver Age vibe that he's bringing to the table. Him being James Gunn, this sort of 1950s to early 1970s era of the character in the comic books. It's a little bit more whimsical, more optimistic, even maybe even a little bit more campy. If you take a look at a certain Green Lantern's haircut, uh, but we've got some colorful visuals. So going in the total opposite direction of the previous incarnation. But some highlights for me were definitely seeing the characters. So he's got this fully baked world with superheroes already in it. Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, Metamorpho. There's already a huge cast of characters in it, which surprisingly I'm all in on that. It's great to see the world fully formed and not have Superman be alone and the only superhero to get things started off. I like the tonal feel of the trailer. It very emotional. There was a marked lack of dialogue, which I agree with that choice. So you don't get bogged down in what people are saying, but he just wanted you to see that this is the tone that I'm going for. I don't know that I would have used the Williams score myself, but I did kind of like the reinvention on guitar. So plus and a little bit of a minus there. But and crypto was a welcome surprise too. I didn't think we would go like crypto would be getting his own sequences, but it's James Gunn, so you have to be ready for anything. But overall, yeah, I think this looks like the right version of Superman for these times, and I think the trailer was great, and I'm looking forward to the movie.
Yeah. Uh, After Guardians 3, I'm a little bit wary of James Gunn using animals in his movie because sometimes they get hurt, and I mean on screen, not behind the scenes, but on screen, and that hurts. That really hurts. I mean, today I can still watch Guardians 3 with dry eyes. You know which scene I mean. Murph,
Yeah.
um, did you like the trailer? Were you highly anticipating this trailer?
I was looking forward to it for sure, and I've been highly anticipating it. I think everyone was, just to see what the initial set piece is going to be for James Gunn's DCU take. I think this trailer did exactly what it set out to do, and exactly what I think a lot of people wanted it to do, which was, at least for me, to breathe like a new, fresh excitement into the DC Comics properties, because God knows they needed it, over the last couple of years. So, and yeah, the this trailer did exactly that for me. I loved the theme personally. It actually gave me goosebumps the first time I watched this trailer. So I love the new take on it, and I think it's a great move too, because I mean, it's just a fantastic theme. It's iconic. It's up there with all the other, the Star Wars theme, and then every other iconic theme in film history. It's immediately recognizable. So to take it and twist it a little bit, and make it, it's not just copy and paste. It's, we're trying to do a new thing, but we also are paying homage to this. I just like that. It immediately sucked me right in. The other big thing, agreeing with Lord Deathman there, I love that this world appears already moving. Like there's a flood of supporting characters. LexCorp is already a thing. We're not starting from scratch, having to watch Superman's. At least it doesn't seem that way. Starting from scratch, seeing Superman's world, build up from nothing. It seems like we're gonna get a movie that is already, there's already existing heroes outside of Superman. So it's not just, we're not starting at one, we're starting at 12 or whatever, and we can hit the ground running a little bit. And I love that idea. Just really makes me excited to see, one, this movie in particular, but two, where this universe goes beyond that. But All the casting looks great. Everything about this trailer, I really don't have any complaints. I adored the campiness aspect to it. I love that it looks like a comic book and not like, dystopian society from Terminator or something like that. I want these images to pop off the screen, and they did that in this trailer, and I can't wait to see this movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was, if anyone ever vacates the board, sees the board frequents there, you can see that I'm very excited about the DCU and about this particular movie specifically. And yeah, it did indeed not disappoint me. I was hyped already when they showed the story this week with that little nice music underneath with that hint of the Donner team, and then you get like the teaser for the teaser, which hypes it up, and then you get like the real teaser trailer, and it was so it gave me hope, it gave me love, it gave me optimism, and that's what Superman is for me, and that's what it should be. And I didn't get that for a long time. I know there's Superman and Lois. I didn't see that show, but I hear great things about it. But when it comes to feature films, this is something I have missed for a long time, and I'm so excited to watch this movie in July, and I cannot wait for the summer. For that minute.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to sort of ask the panel a question in terms of, is there anything special that you're hoping to see in this movie or hoping to get out of it? I know for me, since he is sort of taking this silver aged vibe, and I've been following him on social in terms of the influences from the comic books that he's been using to inform this film. And there's a moment in a comic book run called All Star Superman, which if you haven't read it, you absolutely must. Where and I am about to spoil this, so if you have not read All Star Superman, please mute the volume for a little bit and go out and find a graphic novel, read it, and then come back. But there's a moment where Luthor gets the upper hand, and he manages to take Superman's powers for himself, which grants him the superhuman reflexes and speed, strength, and of course he begins to dominate after having those powers. But what he didn't bank on in co-opting Superman's powers is that Superman also has this kind of what I can only call like a cosmic awareness. It's a super kind of understanding of the big picture and the tapestry of the whole of existence, which kind of surreptitiously grants Luthor empathy, the same type of empathy that Superman has, and he gets to see the world and the whole sort of tapestry of existence the way Superman sees it. And I've always thought that that was just like a compelling set piece in the comic books. And there were a couple of things in the trailer that might allude to that happening in the movie. And I'd be really, really chuffed if that went down that way. But yeah, what do you guys feel like you might want to see in the movie? Either something from the source material or something imagined.
You first.
I don't have any. Sorry, something just jumped off my table. I didn't have anything.
I hope it's a cat.
Specific. It was. I didn't have anything specific in mind, but I do want them to establish Superman, and they do this in the comics, where it's not just Superman, but it's like their big three. They make the big three, which is Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, such a presence that is felt throughout every other comic that you read in DC Comics. If you're reading a Flash comic and they mention any of these three characters, it's like a thing. You know what I mean? Like there's like an otherworldly presence to just invoking these characters' names because they are the greatest things in sliced bread. And it sounds pretentious when I say it, but like it's really nice reading the comics in just acknowledging that like these characters and Superman's a extremely pivotal part in this big three. But these characters are such a representation of the heroic side of this universe that like their reputations precede them in every story pretty much. I don't want to, again, I'm turning it back a little bit, but like, anytime they step into other characters' stories, it feels like a big deal, and it should feel like a big deal. And I really want this story in particular to kind of cement this Superman, assuming everything goes according to plan, as that, foundational pillar of DC superheroes, because he is, and he should be, and he's worthy of that, and other characters should aspire to what Superman has becomes, in the course of his herodom, So if they can do that, if they can just cement his status, I will be extremely happy.
Nice. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah,
Grandmaster?
I'm not a real comic book reader, as you know, so I go back to movies and TV shows I've seen. And I just want something that that really is like, and I don't mean it's like the Donner movies, the first two. I'm talking about the first two. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the first two. But I do want that feel. And I have the feeling I will get that, but I want that feel that when I first saw Superman as a kid, I was like, and then it was Superman 2, and I was amazed. I loved it. I was running down the street with one arm in front of me, pretending to be Superman. And of course, I'm not going to do that now as a 50-year-old, but I do want that feel again. Like it's a superhero that is don't like like what America is supposed to be, the US. I mean, that feeling like all that's good in the world, and and hope and love and optimism. What I said before, that is what I want out of this movie, because that is Superman for me. It has always been Superman for me. This is also why. Despite there are some great shots in like movies like Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman in the DCU, visuals sometimes were excellent. I will always give credit for Zack Snyder to make excellent visuals, but it wasn't Superman like I wanted him to be, and that was so disappointing. And I don't blame Cavill. I mean, I like Cavill. I saw him in The Witcher. I talked to Merv actually about that. He's an all right actor, but he was given what he was given to work with didn't work, at least not for me. I know there are people out there that love that version of Superman. Good for them. But I'm happy we get another kind of Superman, the Superman he's supposed to be. And that's what I want. And if it's also a good story, that would be nice.
Yeah, I don't want to put Gunn under that much pressure, but I totally agree with you. I just know that it might be something of a hard sell uh, for him to kind of replicate that feeling. I hope he can, and I wish him the best at doing it. But I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up falling a little short, because those films are just so special, from the past.
Yeah, I know, but to me, it's more like, he doesn't need to replicate those movies or even reach that height. But if he delivers a movie that, like, at least feels like those movies, then he already has a winner, in my
Yeah,
book. And
I
I
would agree.
think
I would agree.
okay, now I have to ask you guys. Murph was talking earlier about, and you were also, Lord Deathman, about a fully established world filled with already side characters, superheroes, supervillains, whatever you want to call them. So, do you have a feeling that the DCU will start like, if you compare it to the MCU, in phase 2? Murph? Phase
say
two,
that.
what happened after the Avengers. So like MCU was like they have phase one, they established like 6 characters, and then they have the Avengers movie. Then you have phase two where they deepen that world, where they start to interact more. You have the feeling that the DCU will start like in phase two.
I do. Or roundabout there. I think. I mean, I just think that the cast list alone, with how deep the characters are in this, like how deep the list of characters are, I should say. I mean, there's everyone from Miss Trenchmacher and Otis to Supergirl to Kellic, Superman's robot and maid servant thing. They're all going to be in this, and like on top of Mister Terrific, Guy Gardner. I'm a huge Green Lantern fan, by the way. Like the list goes on way too long, and I don't know how much screen time any of them are going to get, but I think just given the gist of this trailer, like it clearly establishes a world where all these things exist, and I think that honestly alleviates a lot of the pressure for me from like trying to build this world from scratch and trying to make a world. Oh, it's our world, but there's a guy who lands in it who's a superhero, and we have to explain that. This is a world where we are stepping in. It seems like we're going to step in, and all this weird stuff's already happening. So it's just the way it is, which is much easier transition from, starting point. Like all this stuff is just here. You've seen stuff like this before in other media. You can believe it. It's a fantasy world with fantasy characters. All this stuff exists. It's not our real world, no matter how close it may appear. So let's hit the ground running. And I get the sense that that's what this movie's going to do. And obviously, I hope they focus very heavily on the Superman part of the Superman movie, specifically Superman and Lois. But I do get really excited when I think about just the list of characters that are just going to appear in this one movie, on top of the upcoming slate of TV shows and movies that they got coming out under this new James Gunn led DCU. It's really exciting for me, especially whenever we get to stuff like obviously we'll talk about it, but Creature Commandos, which I knew almost nothing about, aside from maybe a character or two, but I'm really loving it. And it's just like that's exactly. I mean, it's to bring back something from the past. It's the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. I didn't know who those characters were, but the second I met them, I loved them, and I couldn't wait to see more stories about them. And that's kind of the sense that I'm getting with this, the way this is starting already. So very excited.
But before I move to Lord Deathman, aren't you a little bit afraid that they have like a whole list of side characters and stuff that they get lost in this movie? Like they only used like for a short scene and then you never see them again. But they are in the DCU, or you're not worried about that at all?
I mean, I'm not as worried about it as I am excited to see them, especially stuff like because I'm not the biggest. Well, I don't even really know Mr. Terrific all that much. I'm excited to see him, or like even Metamorpho. I'm a little bit familiar with Hawkgirl, but it's fun to see her without Hawkman because I've only ever seen them in tandem. But I know a lot about Guy Gardner, and he is like the fourth Green Lantern that anyone wants to see. You know what I mean? I love him because he's a jerk, but if you're going to make a Green Lantern movie, it's not going to be featuring Guy Gardner. So to see him in this, I'm excited to even see it. Not so much that like, oh, how much are they going to use him? It's more like, I can't believe they actually put him in this movie. This is fantastic. No matter how crappy his hair was in the 90s, which I don't know if this movie's set in the 90s or if he's just holding on to a bowl cut, but I'm in for it either way.
Okay. One of the most iconic villains in movie history, from Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men had the same haircut. But anyway, Lord Deathman, what do you think? Phase 2 start for the DCU, and do you like it? And are you afraid that the whole list of characters are being wasted on this Superman movie as a glorified cameo, or you're not worried at all because you trust James Gunn?
Yeah, I think he has a huge advantage over where Marvel was at this particular point, kind of hitting the ground running in a world where everything is kind of already set up. He is great at ensembles. So we've seen him do this with Guardians of the Galaxy. or even going as far back as, say, the Dawn of the Dead movies, right? There's a lot of different characters in those films, and Gunn knows how to handle an ensemble that you've just been cold introduced to, give everybody their moment, give them their personality. So he's not burdened with like 6 movies of setup before you get to the Avengers or something like that. So not only does he have an advantage, but he's using a skill that he's incredibly good at to increase his advantage and his lead. And I think it's an excellent idea that really he's shaking off a lot of the burdens that the MCU has with continuity, with interconnectedness. I think he's going to create a much more serialized, no, I'm sorry, episodic universe instead of something that is super serialized, the way those Silver Age comics sort of work. You get an issue, there's an adventure, a fully self-contained story. Then next month, there's another story with Superman, and it didn't necessarily relate to the one you'd seen last month. So I applaud the approach. I think he's got a huge advantage. So I would call this like phase 2, but kind of on steroids. And I'm wholeheartedly be with this approach because I think as fans, people tend to mistake like analysis and critical thinking of something by just saying, oh, this doesn't relate. I can't track this back to the real world, or this detail wouldn't have worked out if this was happening in real life. Or a lot of people mistake that for actual
Yeah.
like criticism of a film, when in reality that's just you trying to superimpose the real world onto what is a fantasy. And if he's just breaking from all those strictures, then that kind of ends the conversation of where so and so was when this was happening, because like we can stop thinking like that. I think it'll be a huge boon to conversations about this new DCU universe.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think if we got another origin story for Superman, the DCU would be dead before it started, because we have seen that too many times. So I get the choices, but I am a little bit worried that maybe some characters will be wasted on one movie as a glorified cameo. I mean, I still remember the Suicide Squad, where the Suicide Squad that was selected in the first moment was killed within 5 minutes. But anyway, yeah,
They were the B team. They were the B team.
yeah,
They were cannon fodder to be
yeah,
thrown at the problem to show you how serious things were.
exactly. Well, that will conclude this edition of Trailer Talk. We hope you have enjoyed our discussion today. If you did, help us out, like and share this discussion, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you really want more of us, join our forum at scarlet347. We would love it if you do that. For now, I want to thank you all also on behalf of our champions and wish you to be safe and be well. So what else is there to say then? Look up. Bye.